This episode is brought to you by Spinnaker. They've just dropped a gorgeous evolution of their signature compressor-style diver, the Bradner Automatic, with a guilloche fume dial. Available in 4 striking colorways like Amber Dawn and Clover Wave, these dials feature an intricate texture beneath a light shifting gradient. Housed in a 42mm stainless steel case with an inner rotating bezel, sapphire crystal, and 18 atmospheres of water resistance, it delivers serious durability. Powered by a Japanese automatic movement and paired with a classic Beads of Rice steel bracelet, it's an absolutely incredible value at just $370. Check them out at spinnaker-watches.com today. That's spinnaker-watches.com. Now back to the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Zach Kazan. I am the editorial director at Worn and Wound. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the podcast. Today I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues. We've got Garrett Jones, our lead photographer, joining us from, I don't know where you are, Garrett. Are you in the office right now? It's kind of a... You found a
nondescript white box. It's the old photo studio that we've converted into like a secondary meeting room at this point.
All right, very good, very good. I wasn't quite able to place that immediately, but that makes sense. I'm also joined by Worn and Wound co-founder Zach Weiss, who is, I don't know where you are. You're in some kind of psychedelic nightscape sort of play. How do we even describe this?
Yeah, I mean, like just a different space-time continuum altogether. Perhaps even just outside of the universe in a world.
Riverside, our podcast platform of choice, has no shortage of fun backgrounds for us to.
Oh, this was mine.
Like, this is
I'm
yours?
going to take credit for this.
Okay.
Yeah, I made this. And by I made this, I mean AI made this. But it's the only thing I really use AI for is to generate fun webcam backgrounds for myself.
There you go. A burgeoning industry for sure. That might be the best use case for AI that I can think of. All right. Welcome, Garrett. Welcome, Zach. This is a Q&A podcast. We solicited questions from our Worn and Wound Plus Slack and Instagram, and we have a wide variety of fun watch and non-watch related questions for you today. I think we have a pretty good crop of questions. They came fast and furious when I posted this in our Worn and Wound Plus Slack last week. So people had things on their minds that they wanted to ask about, which is always a good sign. Before we do that, let's do a quick wrist check. Garrett, let's start with you. What are you wearing today?
Yeah, I am. If you listened last week, I was wearing an EB, and this week I'm wearing an EB as well. But the other half of my EB collection, my full lume dial Holton GMT. So one is something a bit brighter, something just a little bit different than what I had on last week.
Excellent.
This is, of course, Eddie Bauer.
Eddie Bauer.
Elliot Brown.
I was going to stipulate the EBs. I appreciate that they have the same initials as Eddie Bauer, a classic brand from my youth and other people's youth.
It's now out of business.
Are they? Are they fully out of business?
They closed down totally. I thought maybe in the last year they went away for good, but maybe not.
That's a shame.
Like many number of brands, a shell of what they used to be.
Of course.
Private equity will bring them back at some point, I'm sure. No one's ever really gone. Zach, what are you wearing today?
I haven't. Excuse me. I have on a watch that's in for review. The first Omega in space. The 2025, I guess is when this one came out. Model.
Excellent.
Yeah, enjoying it.
Cool. I'm wearing my Ming Minimalist today. I just wrote about a new Ming that I can't talk about yet because it comes out the day after this podcast airs, but it inspired me to put on another Ming of my own, which may or may not be related at all to this new Ming. I'm not going to say anything more. going to be real cagey.
You've said too much already.
I've said too much already.
Yeah.
They're coming to get me.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on to the Q&A. We got a bunch of questions. I first want to address that we got a bunch of questions about Laurier. We haven't spoken about this on the podcast yet, but Warren Mount did acquire Laurier. There's a post on the blog about that and a really nice video sort of like explaining everything. We're not going to address all of the specific Laurier questions that were submitted today. So if you submitted a Laurier question, sit tight. I think that your questions will eventually be answered. There is a podcast coming with Zach and Blake Mallon and the Laurier team. I'm not sure when that's going to drop. Some of the questions might be answered. Might be answered there. And also, just shout out to Laurier. They're very active on Instagram, and they get in the comments when people pose questions on their posts. And a bunch of these questions were kind of like addressed in their comments. So we'll link back to their post and our various coverage of the Laurier acquisition for more on that. There is one question though that came from David M. that Zach, you did want to weigh in on or can weigh in on a little bit, which relates to a change made in the in these new Laurier references that were announced last week. So David writes, I'm just going to ask this. Laurier went to sapphire from acrylic. Was it a supplier issue or a design decision? So Zach, I know you're somewhat limited in what you can talk about there. You don't want to speak for Lauren and Lorenzo, but you do have a lot of experience in the watch industry as a brand owner now and just covering the industry for years. So what can you say about the sapphire decision?
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually interesting. Like before, I think maybe even before we had like lawyers involved in like the acquisition, and we were just talking about the brand and what they had planned, Lauren Lorenzo, for the future. Like they were going to move away from acrylic crystals, and the reason for that was that they were the biggest customer service issue and the biggest quality control issue. So it really came down to wanting to make better product and make product that lasted longer. And, I think in some ways also made for a smoother operation. Acrylic is fragile. And I think while, as like deep enthusiasts are cool polishing out scratches in crystals to a certain level, you get a deep enough one, you're not buffing that out. You have to think about like everyone else, all the people, all the normal people in the world who are not going to sit there with polywatch and buff it out. So you end up with hazy crystals that are problematic. You can also crack those crystals. There's chemical interactions with acrylic, which I actually learned about from them. So like, let's say you wipe a acrylic crystal with a certain eyeglass cleaner that maybe has isopropyl alcohol in it. That's actually going to weaken acrylic on like a chemical level. You can't see it. Eventually it's going to crack. So it's just one of these things where it is, I know it wasn't an easy decision to make for them, but it was a decision that was made for the best of the product and the company moving forward. And we were just fully in support of that. We were really letting them lead these things, and we trust their instinct and their reasoning. And yeah, we moved forward with it. It was kind of as simple as that. It wasn't something that we at least had to like labor over extensively.
Yeah.
Because they had really come to that decision already.
Yeah. It's certainly a notable change as a brand that, a certain part of their identity was kind of like wrapped up in acrylic crystals for a while. They were one of the few holdouts and they really, leaned into that. But that makes a lot of sense. There's a reason why so much of the industry has shifted to sapphire, from acrylic. It's a better material in a lot of objective ways. So that's good insight, Zach. Thank you for that. And like I said, we'll link back to our, some of our coverage of Laurier, and they're very accessible. So if you have questions for them, get on social media and ask them. They've been great fielding questions in the last week or so. All right, let's get into some other Q&A submissions here. Steve Falleo, regular contributor to these Q&As, has a question about our strategies for managing our collections. He says, what is your strategy for managing your collection? Storage, when to sell, when to buy, etc. Garrett, let's start with you. What's you have a growing collection, multiple EBs to manage here. What's your strategy if you have one for storage and kind of just like general intake and just managing everything?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is like I have to have a slot in a box somewhere, otherwise no more can come in. And I am rapidly hitting that point where no more watches can come in until something goes. But if I don't have a good place to store it when it's not on my wrist, then I like just simply don't have room for it and I can't get it. That's kind of the way that I manage in and out for me.
So this is a self-imposed
buy
rule.
more boxes?
I was going to say I know a place where you can get a box. I know a shop where you can get one. I'm very
picky in my watch storage boxes. I only use our old toolboxes, so until those come back, then I can't get more boxes.
It's very sneaky.
Yeah, there might be a finite number of those. Yeah. I also use those boxes. They're very, very good. Yeah, they're excellent. Zach, how about you? What's your you've been at this for a long time. I imagine you just have dedicated rooms probably in your apartment for watch storage and boxes. Do you have spreadsheets? How do you handle this?
Yeah, I actually do have a spreadsheet for kind of like my most collectible pieces so that I kind of keep track of what I spent and then an estimate of like if I were to ever sell them, even watches I would never sell, like estimate of like kind of low, average and like a high. Just, I kind of occasionally will update this just so I kind of know how much money is sort of sitting there potentially, which is both a good and nauseating thing to do at times. Right. But yeah, I try to keep that up to date. And then as I sell things, I kind of fill it in with actuals. In terms of when to buy, always be buying. That's the expression. No, I mean, like, yeah, you, Zach, I think like you just get kind of when there's a watch out there that you really, really want, and it's like maybe there's a little bit of pressure to get it because of some whatever reason, LE, something or other. Like, I'm bad at fighting it. I do often. I don't buy them all, but it ends up happening a few times a year that I pick up watches. Letting go. Basically, if I take a look at the watches I have, and I think, wow, I haven't really worn this one in a while, and it's kind of collecting dust, and I would have a hard time getting it again. That's sort of like the criteria. The last one is somehow it's both the most important, but then also the one that like, is the thing that kind of sometimes forces me to keep something that I don't want, and so occasionally I override it with logic. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That makes sense. Like I have a watch right now I'm looking to sell. I haven't really done very much to sell it. This is my Porsche Rafina with the green PVD. I just never wear it. The reality is it's like I'm not running a museum, so I don't need it just sitting there. But I will never probably find a version of that watch in that condition again like that.
Right.
So it's tricky, especially, at the price I got it at the time too, because everything just goes up.
Yeah.
So, but I have decided to move it because I am just not wearing it. It feels it's frankly just a little too big for me and, acceptance. And finally, storage. So I have like 2 of those toolboxes, and those are like my showcases. Those are the things I wear the most. Then I have various overflow containers. Yeah, I should say. Yeah.
I'm pretty much exactly the same when it comes to storage. I have 2 of our Worn and Wound like toolboxes. They're both red, so they match, which is very, very important. Of course. And those are kind of like where I have sort of like the watches I wear the most and that are, to tend to be like the most valuable that I like the most. And so that's 24 watches right there, in those 2 boxes. And then I have another couple of smaller boxes with overflow. Those are mostly full. And then there are just also like surfaces in my home where there are watches. Like I'm looking at I have a valet tray with my Timex Nigel Caburn, watch that I bought like 6 years ago, and I can't remember the last time I wore it, but it's on my desk and I see it every single day. I'm looking around and seeing other things. I have like an old Casio on on my little kangaroo thing, my little the kangaroo from Pulp Fiction. I have that with some watches on it. So just there are random watches like throughout my home. But yeah, I store them in watch boxes. As far as like managing the collection, I am not really managing the collection. It's really it's like freeform jazz. Like I really just sort of like, I have a bunch of watches. Sometimes I want to buy a watch and I think about it and I buy it. Sometimes I want to buy a watch and I think about it and I don't. I sell watches. Usually it's similar to you, Zach, when I realize like I'm just not wearing it anymore. And I feel like I could use the cash infusion for another watch or another hobby that is, that requires some cash. I'm also trying to sell a watch right now. I'm selling a Louis Erard. Since you put your watch on blast here,
us if you are interested.
Yeah. I'll just also say I'm selling my Louis Erard Atelier Louis collaboration, which at one point I thought for sure I would never sell. But I'm finding that I just don't wear it that much. I have another watch in the same case that I like more and wear more. Even though that case is like a little bit too big. I figure like I can have one watch like that that's a little bit too big, but having two just doesn't make any sense. So that's sort of my logic in selling that. But I've been very, very lazy about it. I've posted it on it's on eBay, and I've also posted it on Instagram a couple of times. I made a Reddit post, but like that subreddit is like so poorly trafficked, and you really have to hit it right to get the algorithm to raise you, and I just haven't been successful there. So the strategy is not great in terms of like actually having a strategy. But I make it work. I make it work for me. I also, this is, I guess, part of the strategy too, is there's a follow-up question here on insurance. Do you have your watches insured? And I do have my watches insured, at least the most valuable ones. And that to me is sort of like when you mentioned your spreadsheet, Zach, and the values attached to it. Like my Hodinkee insurance just renewed over the weekend, and I got the email, and it said what my, the total value was. And I was like, oh man, that's a sobering figure. So yeah, that's sort of that's my life. Are you moving towards a situation, Garrett, where you're going to have more boxes? I think that's what we really want to know is, you need to have boxes to fill rather than.
No, you're right. Yeah. It's kind of like it's in the cards. I've been really good. I haven't bought a watch since Wind Up New York last year. But it's only because I've been buying a ton of knives and camera equipment. So yeah, it's not that I'm not buying. I'm just not buying watches. And I think kind of once I hit the next like milestone, quote unquote milestone for my camera kit and probably another knife or two, then I'll start looking at watches again. And then I'll have to I'll probably just get another box because that's the easy route. But I definitely know there's some stuff that like, I know there's watches I haven't worn in at least a year that I could definitely sell or theoretically could sell if I decide to put the time in to take good photos and post it online and deal with the inevitable scammer that tries to reach out. So,
oh my God, the scammers are just, you post a watch on Reddit and you just immediately get, I talked about this on another podcast recently. You just immediately get like messages from the moderators of Watch Exchange, like warning you about all the new scams. And then you just start getting DMs trying to scam you. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's really the Wild West. So yeah, it's it doesn't really make you want to sell things. It's just such a headache. Anyway, yeah, I think that's we're all doing something to manage our collections. We're trying. We're doing our best. Let's move on to a question from an Instagram user. We got a few questions on movies / the Odyssey via Instagram. Heinrich Watches, that's Wolfgang from Heinrich Watches, wrote in your favorite 2026 movie release. I've definitely got one for this. Let's go around the horn. Garrett, what's your favorite? I think we've already talked about this on a podcast, so I'll just let you say it again. Yeah,
I don't watch movies. We've established this, or at least we've established in the office. So for me, it's going to be Odyssey. It's the only movie that I've watched this year that's a 2026 release, but loved it. Kind of realized about 3/4 of the way through, I was like, oh crap, I've been here for 2.5 hours and didn't realize it. So quite happy with it. Takes the cake for me.
There you go. Odyssey representation in our favorite movies of 2026 conversation. Zach, what have you got? What's your favorite 2026 movie so far?
Obsession.
Yeah, I figured you'd say that. Obsession's great. It's
so good.
It's very, very good.
Surprise of the year. So much fun.
Yeah. I loved Obsession too. Obsession is probably it's like 1A and 1B for me with The Invite, which is probably my
I just saw that.
Too. Yeah, I loved it. I just thought it was like I've seen it twice now. Really cool movie. Like it feels like a throwback to like 1970s movies in a lot of ways. It's like Olivia Wilde directed it. She's like incredibly talented, like visual stylist. I think she does a lot of really interesting things, and like a relatively simple movie. It's a four-hander. It takes place in one apartment, and it's actually like quite visually inventive, and just like a hilarious script, just like so funny,
hilarious,
and perceptive. And I think that like everyone in the everyone in the movie is just kind of like throwing 100 miles an hour. Like great acting from like great performances all around. Really, really cool movie.
I feel like there's like at least like one line in that movie for everyone that'll like find its way into your personal life and just be like, oh, I got commented upon for something, whether it's how you are in a relationship or just something. It's clever in that way. I don't know. There was one for me that I thought was hilarious and obviously there's a lot of stuff in there that's like super personal, so none of those, but like go see the movie. But Ed Norton comments on like a photograph on the wall, and Olivia Wilde's character says, "Oh, that's just me from art school." And it's just like my apartment's like all paintings that I made in art school, and I'm just like, I always look at them like, oh, what could have been,
Yeah.
So it's very that one caught me.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Go see The Invite if you can see it in a theater. So I actually saw this over Wind Up Weekend in Chicago. I had a night to myself and just went and saw it at the AMC down the street from where we were staying, in a theater that was pretty crowded, and it was a lot of fun to see it in like a crowded theater where everyone was laughing. A really good comedy in a crowded theater is still a great thing. So it's a pretty good selection of movies. It's been a really interesting movie year. We'll do a bigger wrap up at some point on movies, I'm sure. Did you see The Odyssey yet, Zach, or have you still?
I haven't seen it.
All right. Have you seen Troy? Because there's a Troy question in here from Abinger Watches. Who had the better horse, The Odyssey or Troy? I
mean, I haven't seen Troy in however 15 years, something. Who knows? I'm going with The Odyssey. The Odyssey had a very cool horse design, and you saw like the brutality of the inside of it, which is like really impressive. They drowned in that horse. It was brutal. All right. I have to see it. I think what's holding me up, honestly, is the fact that like the IMAX theater situation in New York City is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And they're sold out like notoriously now to the point where there's scalpers and stuff. So I've been hesitant just to go see it at my local theater where I see everything, which is a Nighthawk. And I love that theater, but it won't be it's the joke as Nolan intended.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I will enjoy it and I can have a nice cocktail.
Is it playing on film though at Nighthawk? Like, don't they?
It is. It's playing in 35 millimeter film.
Yeah, I mean that would still be a cool way to see it. I think I'm going to try. I'm in the city. I leave for New York as we record this tomorrow, and I'm going to. There are still 70 millimeter screenings that are like not completely sold out, and I might try to see it. But 35 would also be great. I mean, seeing these movies on film is special. So it's highly recommend all three of these movies that we talked about. All worth seeing. Let's go to another Instagram question. This is from J.H. Fagan, 4415. J.H. Fagan asks, what are your thoughts on Nomos? Not a micro brand, perhaps, but an independent, he says. I think they're definitely an independent. We have a Nomos in the office right now for photography. Garrett, I know you're working on that. So let's start with you. What are you've photographed a bunch of Nomos watches at this point. What are your kind of thoughts as sort of like, a relative newcomer, into these watches? What
still get to say newcomer at this point? I mean, I'll take it, but I feel
well, I mean, you don't have a decade of experience with Nomos.
This is true.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the brand as a whole?
They're not my style. in the sense of like, I like big, chunky, overbuilt watches that, you know, I could hammer something into the wall with if I had to. But everyone I've ever handled feels like it's very well made. It feels very refined. You know, any of them that I've been around that have display casebacks, the movement looks beautiful through the inside. I think it's one of those watches that, like, if it resonates with you, you know, visually and personally in the whole design story, then yeah, they're fantastic. I don't really think I've seen anybody like really complain about like, ooh, they did this wrong, or oh, it's a bad value. Like, I feel like I see a lot of people really praise them and really like them.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a you know, strong following. They've been you know, like a cult favorite for a long time, and they've gone on to, you know, a much wider kind of like, you know, they're a much bigger brand now, I think, Zach, than when, you know, you and I probably first discovered them. They were like very much like an inside baseball enthusiast brand for a long time, and they've you know, they've kind of like grown up a bit, as it were. What are your thoughts on Nomos as they stand today?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny actually just thinking about where they were when I first got into it, because I think 15 years ago you could only get them at like Wimpy and through Watch Buys, because they were like one of their German independent brands, which, like, you know, that is so wildly different now that they're available in, like, I don't know, Bucher's or whatever across the country, I'm sure, as well as other ones, and they have their own showrooms and things of that nature. Yeah, you know, it's a funny brand because before there was Tudor and like available in the US, and I don't know, other companies that maybe had like sub 5K in-house movements, like they were the European in-house movement. Like, they were your way to get into in-house watches, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like this great, they were just always this great like achievement brand for getting, when you're first kind of getting into watches. And that's not to say like they're not, you know, I don't like these like entry level, but it was like when I first got into watches, you know, and I got a couple $100 watches and then whatever, you know, the club, which was the lowest priced Nomos, was, I don't know, probably $1,200 to $1,500 new, something in that range. And like, it was an achievable goal, you know. I worked towards it. I eventually got one pre-owned. So I think I paid $800 for it. And it was like the jewel of my collection for a very long time. And I still have that watch. You know, I've sold so many of my watches. That one, I have no reason to sell. That's just a lovely little watch. Like, it's like whenever, I don't wear it very often, when I put it on, it brings me joy. I also wore it to my sister's wedding, so I feel like there's some emotional attachment there.
I also wore a Nomos to my sister's wedding, and I no longer have that watch.
Okay.
I sold the Nomos I wore to my sister's wedding.
I mean, it's
That's
more
funny.
Emotional for her. It just feels like I have my reason not to. And yeah, you know, over the years, the brand has just grown so much. I still really like them, and I think, you know, so for a while, I feel like Nomos's releases, they kind of, they just were doing a lot of sizes and colors. They didn't really do anything new for a while. And, you know, it's just like a person in the media. I think I lost a little interest in them. But their watches always were beautiful. And there was always something like I'd want to buy. I just didn't. But then when the World Timer came out two watches and wonders ago, I feel like that really reignited them in the media sphere and the collector sphere again, and which is very exciting. I think that is kind of like a cult watch unto itself, as well as I'm sure a commercial success. That's like on my, you know, eventual list too. I think that's probably an absolutely wonderful watch to wear when you travel. And so, you know, they're just always there. They're reliable, attractive, and not like anyone else, which is also great. So
yeah, I'm largely on the same page. I think that you know, those of us of a certain age who sort of like, you know, got into the hobby at a certain time and have seen like the trajectory of Nomos probably have like very similar stories. I've owned several Nomos over the years. And for a long period of time, I didn't own one. I went, you know, like several years without one, and I was really glad to add one back to my collection last year, a little over a year ago. They're just like just like a very solid brand, still like relatively affordable. You know, even as like prices have sort of like ballooned, they still feel like a value, I think, compared to a lot of other brands. And yeah, I don't really have much to add. I think that they're just a really enjoyable brand, a huge variety of watches, they kind of get labeled as sort of like, like a dressier watch brand, but like they've really developed a lot of more like everyday and sporty styles, which has sent them in a different direction. And I personally kind of wish they'd like get back a little bit more to their roots and, make some of those like smaller watches and kind of like iterate a little bit more in that side of the catalog. But yeah, good people at Nomos and good watches. And we have the new 38 millimeter Tangenta update. That's the watch that Garrett's photographing right now, and we'll have a review of that coming and some other content soon, I hope. So yeah, thank you for the question on Nomos. All right, it's time for this. This happens every Q&A. Andrew Benzer has a series of food related questions, so we're gonna get right into that. First question, pretty easy. Is your coffee hot or iced in the summer? Mine is typically iced. I'll drink iced coffee and hot coffee at any time of year, but my default in the summer is iced coffee. What say you, Zach?
Hot coffee, typically, actually. I will usually get like a flat white, actually, on my way to the office, but close to the office, so not like middle of the heat of the walk. And then I'll probably get another one at around 4 p.m. Actually, when we're done with this podcast, I might go out and get one. Yep. Occasionally, though, in the office, I will have iced coffee and this is a bit of like a guilty pleasure. I think I might have made this happen in the office, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your interpretation. But the Starbucks like bottled dark roast is so delicious.
Yeah, it's good.
So we always have carafes of that in the fridge now, and like today, I had a couple.
Garrett, you're an energy drink guy. I don't know if I've ever seen you drink coffee. Is that am I accurate there? Yeah, you're not a coffee guy?
There was the only time I've drank coffee at Warner Wound was like Wind Up New York 25, I think, by accident, or 24 by accident. And it was horrendous. I thought it was a Diet Coke and took a big swig.
Oh, yeah. If you're expecting Diet Coke and you get coffee, that's got to be, that's a trauma. That's
whose coffee was like, there's a lot of trauma related there.
It was like you know how it is. We did a group food order. Somebody doled it out. I don't know. It was a rough day.
It wasn't like you picked up a random cup somewhere and you thought it was yours and ended up being some. Okay, good.
No, it was a fresh cup of cold brew. It was not some random cup. But no, I don't drink coffee. I am very much an energy drink guy, and the closer to freezing cold I can get them is the perfect temperature all year round.
You're more than just an energy drink guy. You're, I think, an energy drink enthusiast. Like, you really take it seriously. Like, off the top of your head, power rankings, top 3 energy drinks, like right now. What have you got?
Ghost Raspberry Cream, C4 Orange Slice, and Ghost Welch's Grape.
Okay, you just said a bunch
Ghost
of words
I
don't know any of those. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Is
this I actually...
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go down a really bad rabbit hole. I'm taking it back. Not doing it.
Yeah. Is there a website
conversation?
Is there a website out there for energy drinks that's like equivalent to like the Worn and Wound? Like Worn and Wound is to watches, whatever website is to energy. There's got to be an enthusiast energy drink website.
No, not that I know of. It's just a bunch of like Instagram people that'd be like, "Ooh, new flavor. This was really good," or "This was not good at all."
So what's funny about
I see an opportunity.
I think there probably is, because it's one of those things that like kind of like grifters get into the energy drink business and like launch weird energy drinks, and like it's like a thing. So there's clearly enough people out there to buy them such that a grift can exist.
I need to be one of those grifters. That's my new goal.
It also is like it, not to get deep in the rabbit hole, but it's changed so much in the last like 10 years. Like, they all used to be kind of really crappy and you just tolerated it. And I'm sure it's like, because of the artificial flavorings and stuff that have changed, but like they are worlds better tasting than they used to be, especially even 5 years ago.
Diet Red Bull all the way.
There you go.
I don't know why I stuttered saying that, because I had like a flashback to drinking too much Red Bull, to the Diet Red Bull. What was the one that like became banned that we used to drink in college? Because
Four Loko.
Four Loko.
Was not really an energy drink. It's just like malt liquor with Red Bull in it, basically, and like massive. It's like, that was an insane.
And it tastes like sweet tarts.
Yeah,
You got
very
heart
dangerous.
palpitations and a buzz.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good.
Yeah, that
Shut up,
was
millennial brain damage.
what a wild
whatever.
time. Who was it? Was it Garrett? Was it you I was talking with about Four Loko? Someone at Windup mentioned that they had, someone young mentioned that they had Four Loko, and I was like, you're too young to have had real Four Loko. Like there's
Yeah.
like they changed the
It wasn't
recipe
me.
for legal reasons, like before you were born. So I'm pretty sure that was not Four Loko that you drank. But
only like one or two other people that I can think of that it might have been, but it definitely was not me. I like my energy drinks. I like my strong drinks at other times. I don't think I want to mix them.
yeah, I'm glad to have my Four Loko experience in the past.
Me too.
I'm glad to have successfully navigated that chapter in my life. All right. Well, that was a fun little tangent. Andrew's next food related question is, what is your favorite cheese to have on a sandwich? I think this is a very important question. I'm going to start. I mean, for me, this is like pretty simple. Like if I had to like pick one, I just like a really sharp cheddar. That I think that works with like most sandwiches that I want to eat. Obviously, there's like a lot of variance here, but like I think a sharp cheddar is like pretty unbeatable most of the time. Zach, what do you think?
I'm going to second that. That is my go-to choice for all sandwiches, unless I'm feeling a little quirky. Then I'll go for some other things. But cheddar is the default.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Garrett,
I think I'm gonna go with like mozzarella here. I think so I'm just a little more on the neutral side, but you can really dress it up any way you want.
It's fair. Good mozzarella, especially on like an Italian meat sub of some kind. It's good. It's good. I wouldn't put cheddar there. It's contextual, certainly.
Yep, for sure. Mozzarella, I think, is an acceptable answer. Thank you for those questions, Andrew. As always, we appreciate your contributions to this episode. All right, let's go back to Instagram. Broadcasting Watches. We know him. He comes to. We see him on the rounds. He asks a Windup related question. This is just going to be pure speculation on all of our parts. When is Windup going global? First international watch fair, Windup coming soon. He's in Canada, so he has a vested interest. Here. Listen. I've long been saying I would love to travel internationally for a Windup. Canadian Windup sounds fantastic. Zach, any teases, any hints, anything you wanna disclose?
Yeah, it's gonna like. After the private equity buyout, it's like we're always, we're always hoping to do something. It's just a matter of scale. So that was the joke there. It's like we don't have like an infusion of $20 million to go global with it, because it would take quite a lot of money to get the employees to do, just everything we needed. Because it's like we're maxed out with the 4 as is, and there are conversations about how to strategically add other things because the Windup Watch Fair brand as a brand concept has become so strong for the company, not to like make it sound too corporate-y, but it's just like it's no longer just the fair we throw. It's like a thing unto itself. And it's often even known before we are known in some interesting ways. Like it has its separate kind of, legs. So yeah, we're always trying to figure out the best ways to do it. And there are some ideas on the table, but no time frames attached.
Yeah. Garrett, I'm not going to ask you to comment on the future of Windup or anything like that, but I will ask you, what international destination would you most like to go to personally for a Windup? Where would you, Garrett Jones, lead photographer, like to go?
That's a good question.
For Windup.
Oh, that puts me on the spot. I think the easy answer would be like Switzerland, just because I haven't made it to Switzerland yet.
There's no fairs there or shows and watch shows many times.
No, yeah,
nothing
major goes on over there. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool, like if we could find someplace Europe-ish with just like top of a mountain, absolutely insane view, fantastic natural light. That's what I want. I'm not going to put a pin on the map. Just give me a good venue. We'll go from there.
Let's go to the Matterhorn.
The Alps, the Dolomites, something somewhere up at higher elevation. Interesting.
Go for it. Yeah. We're taking it to new heights, baby.
Population and higher elevation always go together, so it's good.
Yeah.
And find it.
I support a watch event that you have to take a funicular to arrive at. I think that would be think that would be fun. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, more to come maybe on International Windup. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. Let me I think we have time for a couple more questions. There's a few good ones left. I did want to ask. So Steve Fayeo asked several questions. I want to give you, Zach, a chance to comment on your brand, Aura Aurea. He asks, "What's the next Aura Aurea release?" I know you're not going to break any news, but tease us. Tell what's the timeline and how are things going with Aura Aurea? You had some deliveries at Chicago Windups, and people walked away with new watches.
I did. So I got a very small batch in right before the fair. So I was able to bring some with me, which some were going directly to people who were at the fair who had purchased them earlier in the year. So shout out actually to the Watch Preserve guys, Nick and Mike. They both had bought them in San Francisco. And then a friend of mine who lives in Chicago also. So he took delivery. And then a couple people bought at the table. And then the rest of those watches have been shipped out to other, early customers, of which I really have covered everyone who wasn't like a friend who can wait a little longer. And I have the next batch actually coming in tomorrow. Fingers crossed. They've cleared customs. So I have a significant number now coming in. So they will be officially in stock, which is exciting to me because they've just been a pre-order window from the beginning because they were pre-order. I don't know. It is what it is. And I'm excited for that because I definitely heard from a lot of people that they're just sick of pre-orders. And these are people we know well, including some of the guys who bought them at the fair. They're like, I was just waiting for it to be available. I love the look of it. I didn't want to be on another waiting list for another watch. So I totally get that. And so that'll be exciting. And so far so good. It's a new thing. It's a learning curve unto itself. And I'm enjoying the process so far. And I've already kind of learned a little bit about how I want to shape things moving forward, particularly in terms of releases and things of that nature, to be, I think, more sensible. I don't know. It's interesting. I have my watches designed in lines and I have them built out with some complications. And, with the first watch, I started with the pointer date complication, though I also had a design for a simple 3-hand. I'm realizing I probably should have brought out the simple 3-hand because it just tells the story of the design without getting into a complication that some people don't want, some people don't get. It has there's, for some people, the numbers on a pointer date are too small for, and some people love it too. So it just adds a level of complexity that I didn't really think about as the kind of rabbit enthusiast that I am, which is unfortunately the perspective I've been looking at things at from the beginning. So, moving forward, I think I will probably start with the purest version of a design concept before layering in complexity, which should also make it easier for me to, produce. In terms of what's coming next, I've been advised not to talk about that because there's something called the Osborne effect, which is that if you talk about, or when a brand shows a future product before they've sold their current product, people will just wait for that future product. It's like an actual psychological thing. So all I will say is obviously I'm working on stuff because it's a brand, but I am focusing on the current watch and the inventory I have because I need to sell a decent portion of that before I feel secure enough to kind of move forward.
So, makes sense. Very exciting that those are going to be officially in stock and very soon. That's exciting. And they're on display in the showroom in Brooklyn. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you. I never remember. I'm terrible at this. So yes, they are displayed.
I'm asking because I want to see them. I'm coming into the office, so I want to.
So I have the prototypes on display. I'll actually probably put out live inventory soon because the actual products look better than the prototypes, which is also very exciting. And then I hope to talk to a few other retailers globally just to get some consignment pieces around so people can go take a look.
That's great. Okay. Let's we've got two more questions here, both from Charles Humphrey. First question he asks is, if you were put in charge of Omega tomorrow, what's the one thing you'd fix? Pricing, marketing, product focus, etc. so the premise of this question is that something needs to be fixed. I think there's probably always something that can be tweaked with any brand. Omega's been kind of like a touch point of the conversation this year. They've had some releases that were both received quite well, and some that were not received super well by the community, mostly because of pricing. Zach, I'll have you start. What are your thoughts on like a couple of things that you would change if you were suddenly given the reins at Omega?
I mean, I do think pricing is the obvious one to tackle. And it's, obviously you don't know their books and things like that and why they're, increasing prices. Maybe they have to, so that all aside, purely from the I think consumer perspective, they've just gone up in price very fast. Their new releases are much more expensive than previous ones. And, to your point, there was the Observatory earlier this year that got kind of a very negative reaction because of the price point they were at, to the point where I think people just didn't even appreciate the watch for what it was, which was unfortunate. And then we talked about that, and then you and I got in trouble. So we're going to leave it at that. But but the reality is, it would have been a much more successful watch had it been a few $1,000s less or several $1,000s less. And there wasn't necessarily a compelling argument made for the steel models as to why they cost what they cost.
Yeah.
Other than Omega moving up market and becoming more of a luxury product, at the volume they manufacture in, this part of Swatch Group, their industrialized movements, it's hard to say that there is an explicit reason why a steel watch from them is $13,000, So yeah, I think I would fix the pricing to kind of get it a little bit back to its roots. And I mean, you could say the same thing for Rolex too, of being a little bit of a luxury watch for the people rather than just a luxury watch for luxury people.
Right. Right. That's an important distinction. I mean, I think that there's it's not really a luxury watch for the people. It's an aspirational watch that a normal person can conceive of saving up for and getting. As opposed to just a pure luxury object that is an object of fantasy. One is, I think, one has more intrinsic value, I think, than the other. Garrett, how about you? What would you're a Speedmaster owner. That's one of your most worn watches. It's a watch I know you love. What would your advice be for Omega? What would you change if you could?
I think a lot of it comes down to, obviously price is always a sensitive topic, regardless of where you're at in the market, whether you're high, low, whatever. I think, just kind of outside looking in, I look at Omega as such a tool watch brand in a number of ways. You could arguably the most recognizable chronograph. You've got a very recognizable diver watch, both of which have kind of, at least in my opinion, kind of shifted away from the nature and environment they were made for, which granted we're not in a space race and not a ton of people are not going diving. But I think if you can kind of find a way to kind of reposition back to we're the watch you wear when you want to go have type 2 fun, then I think that's a really good position for them to take, and then just go whole hog into that and kind of take back over that space that's quite frankly right now being dominated by the micro brands and independents that we all love to read and talk about.
The thing that I would this would be a very bad business decision probably, and that's why I'm not in charge of a watch brand. This is just purely coming from my own where I sit in watch media. But I just think the storytelling is kind of tired. Everything is either the Olympics, James Bond, or the moon. And I don't know. I'm just kind of bored by it at this point. There has to be another angle. There has to be some other thing to talk about with respect to these watches. And that's what I would try to think about, is just other storytelling opportunities, other not even storytelling. It's just things that you can do to innovate in watchmaking and as a brand and in design that you can then make new stories about. Because we've been talking about the moon and James Bond and the Olympics for so long. So yeah, just mix it up, do something, try something new.
They could be James Bond video game.
Oh yeah, well
come on,
that is a big innovation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the James Bond video game.
It's supposed to be a good video game. I haven't played it, but
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I'm holding out for the new GTA. That'll be the next video game I play. So that's the only video game I enjoy. It's a life simulation, GTA. So
the life you want to lead.
There's some Four Loko and GTA overlap in my life. We fit on a couple of things that are
San Andreas or whatever.
Yep, for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, last question also comes from Alex Colster. I think this is a good way to end it. What is a milestone watch or a sentimental watch that will never leave your collection? Garrett, let's start with you. Do you have a watch in your collection that is a forever keeper, something that you're never going to part with, that means something to you?
Yeah, I feel like so many people that know me, and probably you two as well, expect me to say the Speedmaster. And I'll drop the bombshell that I've been toying with selling my Speedy. We'll see if that ever comes to fruition. But I think in terms of of the 20 some odd watches that I own right now, the only one that I would never, ever, ever, ever sell would be my ProMaster Fujitsubo, just because I have such fond memories of being up in Canada with that whole group of people that we were with Citizen, and just, again, ton of Type 2 fun, pushing myself physically and mentally, and just, really kind of in a tame way experiencing their whole, this is ProMaster whole nine marketing that they wanted to do. But it was just such a good time. And every time I wear that watch, I think about the people that we were with and the trip that we were on. And then I'll see those people because they were all watch industry people. And we always go, oh yeah, that's the watch we wore. And every one of ours has scratches and scuffs and marks. And, it's a watch that tells a story in so many ways for me.
That's a good answer. Zach, how about you? Is there a sentimental watch that will never leave your collection? I'm thinking about your collection. I can think of at least two or three probably.
Yeah, there's several, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's the watches that my dad left me when he passed away. That's kind of an obvious. And some of those are, some of my favorite watches, regardless, the Submariner and the Chrono Swiss. But the big one that's maybe less obvious, the Fairer Lander chronograph, which I got for my 35th birthday, and I got number 35 at the time. It's interesting. That watch, I remember when I bought it, was honestly, it was more money than I wanted to spend at the time. Just, different place in my life. And I just couldn't let it pass me by because I love the Lander green so much. And I love chronographs so much. And, so I bought it, and they only ever made 100 of those. And Paul Sweetenham, the owner of the company, has promised, it wasn't directly to me, but I feel now it is sort of me, that he just won't make that one again. Cause he's told other owners of it that it was kind of a one and done kind of deal, even though they would sell a ton of them. So it just kind of marks a moment in my collecting. It was, I think maybe a bit of a turning point in my life I didn't quite realize. And then it's a beautiful watch that I couldn't replace. Though now it's not, now I have watches that cost a lot more. That sounds like a flex, but it's in terms of the place it is in my collection, it might not be the most expensive watch at all, but it's absolutely a keeper. It would just be a shame to let it go. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Also a good answer. So a few come to mind. I don't think I would ever sell my my James Lamb. That's a watch that I have a very memorable buying experience. I've written about it. I had COVID, and it was New Year's time, and I just was in a haze of feverish, chill, just being sick. I decided I wanted to buy this watch to celebrate. It was 5 years in the watch industry at that point. So that watch is sort of to me tied with something very specific, and I love it. And it just I have a very core memory around acquiring it. And I sort of built some meaning into it because it almost to the day that the first article of mine, ran on Worn and Wound, is when I I think decided to buy that watch. I have to check my notes on that, but so that's a watch that's meaningful to me. And also James has become I hope I can call him a friend. We chat on Instagram from time to time. He kind of fills me in on new things he's working on. And I just like him, and I like owning one of his watches. So I don't think I would ever ever sell that. I don't think I'd ever sell my Tudor Black Bay, just because in a situation where I if I had to sell everything, for some terrible financial reason or something, or if I just decided I'm done with watches, I need to move on to something else, which is also absurd. Like the Tudor is just like a great watch that you can wear, it's without being like a watch enthusiast or a watch collector. Like I have no reason to sell that. It's just like a great kind of like neutral everyday watch that I've worn a lot, and I have some attachment to it, and also like when Zach, when you mentioned your Nomos, that like there's just no reason to sell it. That's kind of how I feel about my Tudor. It's just like I'll always have a reason to wear that. It's sort of like it's the watch I kind of go to if I'm like thinking like I don't really know what to wear, today. It's sort of like it's always a good decision. And I don't think I would ever sell my Fears Jump Hour also, just because that's like it's like very rare. I would certainly never be able to replace it. I think they only made like 10 or 11 of those in silver. And I love it. It's just good to me. That's also like a very special watch. So yeah, those are some that I think, if not necessarily milestone watches, or watches that have like meaning to me, that are watches that I would not consider selling. So good question, Alex. Two good questions from Alex there. All right, guys. Well, I think we answered just about every question, legitimate question. Some of you guys are asking weird questions, but we appreciate all submissions. But we got to a bunch of questions this round. We'll do this again in another month or so. Garrett, Zach, thank you so much for coming on the pod, answering listener questions. It's always appreciated.
My pleasure.
And thank you to everyone listening. We appreciate you tuning in week after week, and we will be back next week with another all new episode of the Worn Around podcast. Until then, take care.